who has enabled with an educational grant to make this possible. Today's talk is on influenza in pregnancy and the role of vaccination. And I think in today's day and age, with COVID still such a major threat all over the world, this topic is extremely relevant and extremely pertinent. So I'm going to basically go through a little bit about influenza in pregnancy, of course, about prevention and the role of vaccination. And we are also going to touch a little bit about influenza vaccination in COVID times, as well as the co-administration of the vaccine with other vaccines during pregnancy. So if we look at influenza itself, I think this is our basic microbiology, but it's worth repeating because that's the basic understanding for the vaccination. It's a very highly contagious respiratory infection caused by the influenza virus. And there are three types, the A, B, and C. But most of the time we are dealing with A and B, which are responsible for clinical illness. Though in the past, A has got more of the limelight, influenza can occur with A and B virus strains. And influenza A basically has two subtypes called the hemagglutinin and the neuraminidase. And these are basically surface proteins. And based on which strain is more prevalent, you would get a various combination like H1N1, H3N2, which are the most common circulating strains. If we look at influenza B, there are two lineages, the Victoria line and the Yamagata line. And most of the time, one or the other would be responsible for the infection. Influenza C is rarely reported in humans and it's a subclinical infection. Now, just to understand that there is a certain convention in naming the vaccine or the virus structure from which the vaccine is derived. And as I said, the HA is the hemagglutinin and the NA is the neuraminidase. So if you look at this name of this particular strain, it would define the antigenic virus type, that is A, the place from where it originated, for example, Hong Kong, the strain number, the year of isolation, and what is the subtype, that is H and N subtypes. When we are looking at corona, and we have learned a lot of lessons from the corona pandemic, we know that in influenza, there are two main variations in the antigens, and one is the drift and the other is the antigenic shift. Now, if we look at the antigenic shift, because this is what we are all looking at in the corona pandemic as well, it's basically a reassortment between human and the avian strains. And it is only seen in type A. And basically what happens is two virus strains will infect the same cell and create a completely new virus. And this leads to a pandemic. Unfortunately, there's nothing we can do in pandemic situations as we are living through it right now. But where the antigenic drift is concerned, basically there are mutations in the hemagglutinin or the neuraminidase of the same virus. And this is what causes an epidemic. Very often I'm asked the question, why is India so concerned with influenza? Because influenza is a disease primarily of the temperate countries. But that's not true anymore. And especially because people travel all over the world, influenza is also seen in tropical regions as well as the temperate regions. In the northern hemisphere, typically the winter time, which is November to March, will be when we will see a peak in the influenza. And unfortunately, currently in the Western world, we are seeing the peak in COVID as well. And in the southern hemisphere, the winter, which is May to September, that's when the peak of influenza will be seen. In India, being in the tropical belt, we do sometimes see two peaks of influenza. In Maharashtra, especially in the coastal areas of Mumbai, we are seeing a pre-monsoon peak. Whereas in North India, typically the peak is winter, that is December, January, February. I'm not really aware what is the peak season in Nagpur, but we have to understand that in India, we can have more than one peak where influenza is concerned. Another very common question that I'm asked is that how do we know which vaccine to give and which strain to give, etc., etc. So understand that influenza vaccine, a new strain which is slightly different from the previous composition, is released by WHO twice a year. Initially, what happens is that there is a global surveillance system, and data from more than 111 countries is collated. WHO then identifies the antigenic variants which are commonest in the influenza which was prevalent in the community. And then WHO decides which will be the most likely strain to be prevalent in the next season. And then it distributes this virus material to all the manufacturers. And this process then takes almost 6 months to produce the vaccine. So typically in India, if we have the Northern Hemisphere vaccine available, this vaccine is available around September to deal with the Northern Hemisphere peak, which is November to February. And if we are, say, in the month of April, then we would get the vaccine, which is the Southern Hemisphere one, which is released in April. Do not get confused about Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere, which one to give and which one not to give, because where influenza is concerned, every pharmacy and every stockist in the country at any given time will have only Northern or Southern. So whichever is the most recent strain that is released, that is the one that you should be using for your patient. I think this is a very important slide because today the slightest cough or the slightest fever and we all assume that it is COVID. Of course, we should have an extremely high index of suspicion where COVID is concerned for our pregnant women. And I don't know how bad the situation is in Nagpur, but in Mumbai now the COVID situation is slightly settling. But I have so many pregnant women who are asymptomatic and COVID positive. On the other hand, we also see a lot of the cough and upper respiratory tract infections, which we should be clear and we should be able to differentiate from influenza. So we should make sure that if there is high fever, headache, body ache, fatigue, extreme exhaustion, and cough and aches and pains, we should always think about a contagious illness like influenza. On the other hand, a common cold is usually self-limiting and sneezing is the main feature because it's more of a rhinitis. Whereas in influenza as well as COVID, sneezing is not the main symptom that is seen. Of course, COVID is defined classically by the shortness of breath and extreme exhaustion and headache, which is extremely common. So keep in mind that if you have a patient who has mild symptoms, you can give her symptomatic treatment for a day or two. The moment the symptoms have not resolved within 48 hours, please go ahead and think about a serious respiratory infection. Now coming to influenza in pregnancy itself. We know that the incidence of influenza in pregnancy is almost the same as the incidence in non-pregnant patients. But the point is that influenza in pregnancy is related to an extremely high maternal morbidity and mortality, along with a very high neonatal morbidity and mortality. This is more so if the pregnant mother contracts influenza in the second and the third trimester of pregnancy, where she's at risk for hospitalization, and then severe comorbidities can add to her complications. Most of the women with influenza in pregnancy who do have a mortality will have a mortality because of pneumonia or ARDS and multi-organ failure. Similarly, where the fetus is concerned, there is a 2 times higher risk for low birth weight and more than a 4 times higher risk of fetal death and preterm births. In fact, during the 2015 pandemic, when we analyzed data from KEM Hospital, we found that there was an overall perinatal mortality of 33%, which is fairly high. And a lot of literature from India, but unfortunately, many of the studies are small and not well designed. So here I just put together the data which basically shows that there is a high burden of both maternal and fetal complications in pregnancy, which could be maternal mortality, fetal loss, preterm delivery, ICU, prolonged hospitalization, and complications and ventilation. So obviously, I think the chairperson for the session said very clearly that just one small vaccine can prevent all this. And I don't think that I need to actually justify the need for vaccination, but we'll go through some of the fine tuning about the vaccine and the administration, etc. Obviously, prevention is better than cure. And CDC has said that an influenza vaccine is the best protection against influenza in pregnancy. So here the point when we are counseling our mothers is that we are giving her a double protection. So protection to the mother, because the vaccine will generate a robust response. It will prevent the complications. And most importantly, if she does get influenza in the second or the third trimester, despite vaccination, her need for hospitalization and adverse pregnancy outcomes are definitely reduced. The most important benefit to the newborn is the transplacental antibody transfer. And this is important because newborn immunization for influenza does not begin till 6 months of life. And in those 6 months, the child is vulnerable, and it is only the maternal antibodies which will protect the infant from influenza. Also, mothers who have been vaccinated, their babies have been found to have a better outcome in terms of birth weight as compared to those mothers who did not receive influenza vaccine during pandemic situations. Now, coming to the actual types of vaccines, we know that there is a live attenuated vaccine, which is an intranasal vaccine, which is contraindicated in pregnancy, like all live vaccines. The inactive vaccine is the one that is recommended in pregnancy. And we previously had only the trivalent available, and now we have the quadrivalent vaccine available as well. Now, the trivalent vaccine has two strains of A, that is H1N1 and H3N2. And the quadrivalent also has the same. The difference lies in the B strain. So in the trivalent, they either select the Victoria strain or the Yamagata strain, whereas in the quadrivalent, both the Victoria as well as the Yamagata are present. Now, this is important because in many cases, there is a mismatch in the B strain. What does this mean? That if you recollect, I said that WHO recommends the composition of the influenza vaccine for the next season. So WHO basically has to predict whether it will be Yamagata or whether it will be Victoria strain. And sometimes WHO can get it wrong. And sometimes basically the circulating lineage in the population does not match the vaccine lineage. And this is why sometimes the efficacy of the vaccine goes down. So also, sometimes the predominant B lineage cannot be accurately predicted. And so if there is a Yamagata strain which is prevalent in the community, but the vaccine has the Victoria, obviously it will not be that effective. This is 2020 WHO data from the global surveillance, which also, if you see the orange bars, where it looks at the number of specimens positive for influenza by subtype, these orange bars, which take up a large area, are those where the lineage of the bee could not be ascertained accurately. That means it could either be Victoria or Yamagata, but they were not able to actually decide which one it was because there is co-circulation of both lineages. Similar data from India also shows that irrespective of the geography, Delhi, Chennai, Calcutta, Pune, Nagpur, wherever, irrespective of the geography, there is co-circulation of both the Victoria as well as the Yamagata strains. So basically what this means is that the influenza virus type and subtype differ across cities in India as well as over time in various years. And that's why rather than the trivalent, we should ideally be switching to a quadrivalent vaccine, because this will take care of the unpredictable B strain, not knowing whether it is Victoria or Yamagata. Also, though I said that the bulk of the diseases are influenza A, there is a large group of patients and seasons where B strains will contribute to the influenza-related deaths and morbidity. And obviously the quadrivalent vaccines, which protect against both Victoria and Yamagata, will give a broader protection against influenza in general. Now looking at some important recommendations, and I always like to start by saying that WHO way back in 2012 said that in vaccinating pregnant women was one of the most important and cost-effective strategies, because pregnant women are an extremely vulnerable group. And WHO has said that any stage of pregnancy, irrespective of the trimester, the influenza vaccine should be given because it is safe as well as effective. ACOG has had almost 3 guidances to date, 2014, 2017, and the most recent, that is 2019, where they have said that all women who are or might be pregnant or in the postpartum period should receive the vaccine, and any licensed, recommended, age-appropriate inactive vaccine can be given at any time of the pregnancy. Similarly, FOXI had its initial guidance in 2016 and again in 2018. But we have actually in the FOXI guidance said that all pregnant women from 26 weeks onwards. I think this is to get over the reluctance of practitioners to vaccinate earlier in the pregnancy. But FOXI has also clearly said that in case of a pandemic, the vaccine can be given earlier to protect the mother. IAP has also strongly recommended that the influenza vaccine to the mother can provide protection to the infant for the first 6 months of life. Whenever any vaccine talk comes on, there will always be someone who says, but is the vaccine safe and should we give it? And there are more than lakhs of pregnant women in Europe and Canada who have been vaccinated, including the Global Advisory Committee on Vaccine Safety. All agencies internationally say that the influenza vaccine has an excellent safety profile and should be strongly, strongly recommended. This map is just to show that more than 100 countries recommend influenza vaccine for pregnant women. Now, just a little bit before I come to my final few slides about vaccination in COVID times. And an important point to understand that vaccination is an essential service. You cannot allow vaccination programs to be put on the back burner in the presence of COVID or any other pandemic. And both ACOG as well as CDC strongly recommend that the immunization should continue during the COVID pandemic. And here's the important thing. When we are calling patients to our antenatal clinics, we are restricting the number of visits that they have now because of COVID. So instead of the 7, 8, or 10 visits, we are now brought down the number of visits to 4 or 5. When we have brought down the number of visits to 4 or 5, an important strategy to ensure that we do the vaccination is co-administration. That means that we can co-administer the influenza vaccine with either the TT or the TD or the Tdap vaccine. And this is an extremely important strategy to reduce the number of visits as well as to improve your vaccination coverage. Ideally, I like to give the influenza vaccine in the second trimester, and I like to give the Tdap or the Boostrix vaccine the moment the patient has crossed 27 weeks. So typically when the patient comes back to me with her anomaly scan around 20 weeks of gestation, I like to give the influenza vaccine. And then the next time I call her at about 28 weeks, I will give the Tdap vaccine. But in case she has missed out on the influenza vaccine earlier in pregnancy, I can co-administer both at the same sitting at 2 different sites, ideally, of course, in the deltoid on each arm. Both vaccines, influenza as well as Tdap, can also be administered in the postpartum period in case the patient has missed out on taking the vaccine during pregnancy. CDC has also said that COVID, there may be an increased risk for severe illness in pregnant women in COVID compared to non-pregnant women. We haven't really seen a lot of that from the studies coming out of India. Most pregnant women with COVID have a very mild and asymptomatic course. So this is the quadrivalent vaccine of GSK. the Fluarix Tetra, which is a world's first inactive quadrivalent vaccine, which has both H1N1, H3N2, as well as both the B strains, with more than 18 crore doses sold across the globe, recently launched in India. And as we already said, it can be used in all stages of pregnancy because it is inactive. It can also safely be given in the postpartum period as well as during lactation. And it's a single dose 0.5 ml for the intramuscular use in the deltoid or the thigh. I already mentioned about the co-administration with Tdap, and this is an important intervention that we can do, especially during the COVID times. So I'd like to summarize by saying that all pregnant women and newborns are at higher risk of complications due to influenza. All international as well as national agencies strongly recommend the vaccine for pregnant women. The safety profile is excellent, and Fluarix Tetra or the quadrivalent vaccine should be the first choice when you are deciding which vaccine to be given. Just a last word about the common side effects which are seen in most vaccines, which is injection site pain, fatigue, headache, and myalgia, which may be seen, but rare events are really extremely rare. I always like to end by using this quote that vaccines are always available to us. But if we do not get our patients to come to us to take the vaccines cannot save lives. Vaccination will save lives. So I thank you all, and I'm open to questions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam, for your wonderful, wonderful presentation. And things are crystal clear. And you have rightly said that it gives a double protection to the mother as well as fetus, and it is very safe in a pregnancy. And we should always go for quadrivalent vaccine. Okay, and you can give it in second trimester onward, and you have to combine it with other vaccines.
That's right.
Thank you so much.
Yes. I think there is some question in the chat box, which I just looked at, that what about the booster, somebody has asked. So basically the influenza vaccine, though today we are talking about pregnancy, understand that healthcare workers are also at high risk for influenza. And so all healthcare workers should receive the influenza vaccine every year. So basically, all of us should also be taking the influenza vaccine every year. We should also be giving it to our hospital staff, and we should also be giving it to our old parents who are over the age of 65, because these are the really vulnerable groups. And where pregnant women are concerned, she should have an influenza vaccine in every pregnancy because the strain differs. So there's nothing like a booster. So in the non-pregnant interval, if she's a low-risk patient, she does not require it. But in every pregnancy, she requires influenza vaccine as well as a Tdap vaccine in every pregnancy.
Yes. Ma'am, the next question is about the cost, difference of cost in a tri and a tetravalent vaccine.
Yeah, so currently there is some difference in the cost, and I'm not here to, promote the cost or how will it be cheaper or not. But all historical data where vaccine cost is concerned shows that the more doses you use, the cost is going to come down.
Naturally.
So
Yes.
I can only say that the quadrivalent is superior to the trivalent. Most of the international data on influenza vaccine in pregnancy, of course, is on the trivalent, though ACIP has come up with its own recommendations in 2019 to say that the quadrivalent is as good or effective as the trivalent.
Right. And can you please repeat the schedule of vaccine once again?
Right. So, the schedule that I personally like to follow, and which I think is a very sensible schedule to follow, is that, in fact, even Government of India has said that we should be phasing out TT, tetanus toxoid, and we should be replacing tetanus toxoid with TD, that is tetanus with diphtheria.
Yes.
So big T, small d. So what I like to do is in the second trimester, maybe around, as I said, right now, because of the COVID, when the patient comes with the anomaly scan at 18, 19, 20 weeks, I give the first dose of TD along with influenza, because I don't want to miss out on the opportunity later. And when she comes back at 28 weeks, I give her the Boostrix or the Tdap.
Correct.
Now, if cost is an issue, of course, we can't argue which would you prefer if cost is an issue. But if you space out the two vaccines, then cost doesn't become that major an issue if you're giving influenza earlier and Tdap later. In case she really can't afford, then at least you should give influenza in the second trimester. And instead of TT, then give her TD at least. And don't give TT, because TT is nothing. I mean, people have now disregarded TT in most of the studies.
True, ma'am. Right. And if mother has, what about patients who have already recovered from COVID? Is it safe to give in such patients, the
Yes.
post-COVID
Yes.
recovery?
So it is safe to give, because you have to understand how the vaccine works. The influenza vaccine is not going to be affected by the COVID. Okay. It's just not
Correct.
going to be affected. So if you have to say that, should I give this vaccine or this vaccine, each vaccine will act against a particular disease. So you must continue once the patient has recovered from COVID.
Yeah. And there's one more question. If mother has already taken influenza vaccine, then also in pregnancy, we have to give it.
Yes. Yes. So what the American recommendation says, that if she is likely to become pregnant, see, because over there it is very, very well defined and seasonal. So suppose in November a patient says, I'm planning a pregnancy. Okay, then they would say, take the flu shot so that you don't become infected or don't fall ill.
Well, yeah.
If you're planning also, you can take, and then that validity is a year. But it is better to give once the first trimester is over. And a lot of studies have found that there is no difference in the protective antibodies to the neonate, whether you give it early in the pregnancy or late in the pregnancy. So you can take every opportunity basically to just not miss out on any patient and vaccinate.
Right, right. And which vaccinations for senior citizens?
So for senior citizens, definitely influenza vaccine. And I'm not a big fan of many other vaccines, though nowadays they say pneumococcal and this and that. There are so many vaccines available, but at least influenza for sure.
And which time of the year, ma'am?
So in Mumbai, typically I like to vaccinate for influenza in April, May, June, which is just prior to the flu.
Prior to monsoon, yeah.
Monsoon, you
Yes.
know, because we have so many monsoon related illnesses in Mumbai, especially with malaria, leptospirosis, dengue, etc., which are waterborne and monsoon related, along with Hep E, hepatitis A. So it's better to vaccinate pre-monsoon.
Yeah, so the AAP recommendations is 15, at least 15 days prior to onset of monsoon. So that's what, like you said. Delhi government hospitals have replaced TT with TD in pregnancy. That's what Dr. Anita Rajoria ma'am has
That's
commented.
exactly what I said, that
Yeah.
there is a 2018 recommendation from the Ministry of Health, which says replace in a phased out manner all over the country TT with TD.
Yes. And this is a question from Dr. Pushpa Jungare ma'am from Amravati, my teacher too. She's asking you, as are the vaccines given free of cost in government hospitals?
If only. So I'll just give you a small story for this. In 2015, we had a really bad sort of pandemic of influenza in many parts of the country. At that time, we lost quite a few mothers to influenza in the tertiary care centers. And so the BMC, the Bombay Municipal Corporation, bought 1 lakh doses of influenza vaccine, which they circulated to all the BMC hospitals in Mumbai, to give it to the mothers in the third trimester, because those 1 lakh doses were not going to last. So that is the only time they gave the vaccine free. But that was a knee-jerk reaction. There was an influenza epidemic, mothers died. So what do? Give the vaccine. I wish that more people would understand that vaccine programs deserve money to be spent on them.
True, ma'am. Well said. Yeah. The next question is, ma'am, when the patient gets registered in a PHC, 2 doses of TD are completed by 12 weeks only. Will that suffice or is a third dose necessary?
So the 2 doses of TT, which are given at any stage of the pregnancy, and that's actually the WHO recommendation. If you don't know her status, you can give tetanus as early as the registration. But the difference is that Tdap is going to protect against pertussis. And let us not forget that India is one of the leading countries for pertussis-related morbidity and mortality, especially in the infants who are less than 2 and 3 months old. So our infant schedule begins at 6 weeks of age. And if we don't vaccinate for Tdap in the third trimester, then we are going to have many more pertussis-related deaths. So even if she has finished the TT, okay, I don't think we have seen neonatal or maternal tetanus for donkey's years now because we are free of that. So better to give the Tdap, which will protect against pertussis as well as diphtheria.
Yeah. And now one more important question, ma'am. New strains are out around October and November. Still, do you want to give it in April?
No. So
are they out in October? No, they have.
What happens is that they are released in February and September. February and August. By the time they hit the market, by the time they hit the domestic market, it may be October. But I would not wait for the next strain to come. I would certainly not wait for the next strain to come because I will lose the patient. How many of us have told the patient we'll do this next time and the patient doesn't come back? So I would not look at the seasonal peak. Rather, I would look at the gestational age and just vaccinate.
Right, right, ma'am. I think most of the questions are covered. Over to you, Rajesh.
Yeah. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
Now we move on to the next topic.
Rajesh, before that, okay, I just thought you're making sense. Ma'am, your student is Dr. Meghna Agrawal.
I can see my 2 students, Bhakti Gurjar as well as Meghna.
Where's Bhakti?
Bhakti is there. I can see her.
Meghna, Meghna.
Yeah, hello, ma'am.
Hi. So I was in fact about to log out, but I said before I log out, I have to say a big hi to Meghna and Bhakti and the Nagpur Society. And as I told Vaidahi, you're going to have a little overdose of me on the following weekend. That workshop,
but that's not going to be an overdose at all. We just love to have you all the time. That's Bhakti.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi. Who's saying hi now?
Bhakti.
Bhakti here, ma'am.
Hi. So thank you very much. And if you'll excuse me, I'll have to log out. Yeah.
I know, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. Rajesh, before we start the next session, I invite the executive from GSK, Mr. Bhoyer. Mr. Bhoyer? Wait, I think I need to unmute him. Mr. Bhoyer, you can unmute just for his remarks. Yes, go ahead, Mr. Bhoyer.
So once again, doctor, thank you so much as a Foxy president, Dr. Vaidehi Marathe, and NOGS always.
And not NOGS Foxy, always, NOGS president.
Sorry, I'm sorry. So NOGS always backed GSK, my Boostrix and all. So first of all, doctor, last time also you have given me a platform, NOGS platform to launch our Boostrix. And now the fact is that Boostrix is the protocol. Boostrix is that the protocol of 90% obstetricians in Nagpur, and that is really a good thing. That is really good thing. And now, doctor, I thank you, Dr. Anahita Chauhan, to have Fluorix Tetra presentation over here. And I'm sure, I'm 100% sure, doctor, most of the 90 to 100% gynecologists or obstetricians are going to make mandatory flu vaccination in their protocol as a flu vaccination. Yeah. So I thank you so much for your very nice presentation, ma'am.
I just want to add one thing because somebody asked a question about cost.
Yes.
It doesn't matter, according to me, which vaccine you give, as long as you give a vaccine.
Correct.
Okay? Yes. So today we are talking about GSK's Fluorix. That it's not necessary that you have to, because the more vaccines you use, the overall cost will come down. So the first idea is promote vaccination and talk about vaccination at every opportunity with your patients. Then the choice of brand, of course, is yours. I don't mean to pull away from GSK's brand, but I'm just saying that first get into the mindset of prescribing vaccine. So the first step is make sure all your pregnant women get Boostrix and get an influenza vaccine.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. For the pricing and all that, I'm here to pass the communication. Don't worry about that. As a GSK representative, so Fluarix Tetra, doctor, is all of you know it's the world's first approved quadrivalent vaccine, and it's the only vaccine which has got the Indian efficacy data. This is very important one. Now coming to the price, because many of doctors have asked that the MRP of this vaccine is 1800 rupees. That is 1800. And the hospital price that we are supplying to the doctors is just 1000 rupees, and that includes the cost also, this GST also. So we have kept that 800 rupees, the difference between the price and the hospital price and MRP of the vaccine. So, but as the Dr. Anaita has mentioned, that flu vaccination is very important and it has to be given to every single pregnant woman. That is the carry-home, take-home message. I'm sure, Doctor, most of them have already taken that. So I thank you, Dr. Vaidehi Marathe, to give this platform to GSK to again have our Fluarix Tetra in platform. And I request all of the obstetricians present in this program to use Fluarix Tetra as a flu vaccination in the pregnant women. Thank you, Dr. Vaidehi Marathe. Thank you so much.
Mr. Bhatt. Thanks for the support as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Over to you, Rajesh.
Thank you. Now I am transferring the stage to the rich doctors, and I'm handing over it to Dr. Swati Khandekar for further proceedings.
Yeah. Swati?
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah,
Am I audible?
You're
Yeah.
audible but not visible. Yeah, now.
Yeah. First of all, let me thank the NOGS for giving me this opportunity and to chair this important session on finance, which is a topic very close to my heart. And also, it gives me great pleasure to introduce my dear friend Neeta. Neeta definitely needs no introduction on this platform of NOGS. She's a consultant gynecologist, sonologist practicing at Parijat Clinic, Nagpur. She's a great debater, financial expert, and a very dear friend of mine. So now, without wasting much time, I hand over the mic to Neeta so that she could enlighten us and she would tell us ways to become rich. Over to you, Neeta.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I share my screen now, Swati?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you see everyone?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yeah. So hello, everyone, all the rich doctors here. Thank you for the kind introduction. I'm so glad our president ma'am and secretary ma'am, they decided to have a session on finance, a much needed one, because money matters. And after this presentation, we'll have a nice interaction. I'm sure the chairpersons also have a lot to say on this. So the big question is whether doctors can manage finances on their own or should it be outsourced? Should we give this responsibility to someone else or can we do it on our own? The answer to this is a big yes, and my job is to convince you. Do you think financial education or learning is important? Do we need to rack our brains on this topic? See, when you know how to earn, which is far more difficult thing to do, we must know how much to spend and how much to save. See, everything is good today. We are doing good practice, earning well. But what about tomorrow? What if any disability strikes us? What if our registration is cancelled, the MMC? Or for some reason, we are unable to practice. What will happen then? It doesn't matter how much you earn today. Every single penny that we earn is hard earned. So we must spend and save intelligently. Even if you have rupees 1,000 to save, we must know where to invest, where to keep that money. Well, some people will say they're too busy in their OPTs and OTs that why should they, torture their brains in learning this tough task? First thing, it is not tough at all. But even if we are busy, we try to find some time for our families. We can't tell someone else to spend time with our family on our behalf. That has to be done by us. And this also is for our families, because after all, time is also money. So similarly, why should we hand over our bag of money to someone else, the agents? In sophisticated language, they are called financial advisors. They are very happy to handle our money. They'll keep coming to you, they'll keep pestering you because they want you to invest with them because it's beneficial to them. Through you, they want to make good money, huge money, in fact. But remember, they are not your well-wishers. Only you yourself can be your well-wisher as far as monetary things are concerned. So what is financial management then? For this, I need to explain to you what is inflation. What is inflation? Mehengai. In Marathi, Mahagai. So if you were charging rupees 200 for consultation 5 years ago, and if your charges have increased to 500 now, the patients will say, Mehengai बढ़ गई. So this is inflation. The cost of living increases. The products which you were buying at a particular rate prior few years back, we are not getting them at the same cost today. So the cost of living increases and the value for money decreases. That is inflation. So whatever money you want to invest in, it has to be invested in such a way that it should fetch you more in future, more than inflation. Otherwise, there's no point doing all this exercise. If the inflation is more than the rate of interest of your investment, there's no point. So what happens to our fixed deposits? Everybody knows what are FDs. What happens? They give you they promise you a fixed rate of interest. Suppose the rate of interest is promised as 6%. And after 5 years, if the inflation rate is also 6%, your investment interest is nullified. On top of it, whatever interest you have received, you will be taxed according to your personal tax slab rate, which is mostly 30% for all the doctors. So you have to pay tax on that. And also the inflation and the rate of interest was same. So if you invest 1 lakh rupees today, and after 5 years, if they are giving you 96,000 rupees after deducting all the expenses and taxes, will you opt for it? Of course not. So FD becomes actually a negative investment. But we did not know this earlier. This has been our favorite investment. So please try to understand how it is a negative investment. Then where to invest? $1 million question. Real estate and stock market. They are the only two instruments which can beat inflation. So will you put all your money in real estate and stock market? Of course not. There comes the role of asset allocation. What is asset allocation? The money you want to invest in, you will invest in different types of assets. But how much to invest in a particular asset is the asset allocation. Always remember GRED. G is for gold, R real estate, that is the property. E is equity. Equity means share market. Share market, stock market, these words are used interchangeably. And D is for debt products. What are debt products? Are FDs, the bank FDs, the government bonds, government securities. So these are the asset types in which you should put your money in. And how much? GRED, remember 10, 40, 40, 10 in this proportion. So if today you want to invest 1 lakh rupees, put 10,000 in gold, 40,000 in property, that is real estate, 40,000 in equity, that is stock market, and 10,000 in debt products. I've already explained about the debt products. So firstly, we will discuss about gold. See, when you want to invest your money, you want the cost to increase and not decrease. So what investment you want to make in gold? See, jewelry is an expense. Sad news, isn't it? But that's the hard truth for the ladies. It's not that you shouldn't buy jewelry, but when we are talking about saving, whatever amount we want to save today should be kept aside first, and the remaining you can buy as much as you want. As much as jewelry you want to have, you can. But it involves making charge. Then most of the jewelry is made in 22 carats of gold. So when you want to sell it, all these charges are deducted and ultimately you are in loss when you want to exchange your jewelry. So that is a different thing. For if you have surplus, you can have as much jewelry as you want. But if you want to make an investment, invest in some sovereign gold bonds. SGB is sovereign gold bonds. These are the government bonds. You don't actually own gold in this, but it's a paper gold. You buy it on paper at today's rate, and after 7 years, you will get the extra cost that the gold has fetched in these 7 years plus 2% interest. And you will get that money back, not the gold. So you will possess, but you will get whatever you have invested. Or even gold coins is a good option, because that also has making charges, but still it is still better than jewelry. Then comes real estate, the properties. I need not tell doctors. Doctors are very expert in this, and I'm sure they must have exhausted this option by buying properties here and there. So it must be actually in excess of 40%. That 10, 40, 40, it must be in excess of 40%. So I need not talk about this much. Also, I want to tell that first house is not an investment because it's the need. The second house definitely can be for investment purpose. Then equity, the most important part. Equity is share market, investing in share market. How do we do that? There are two ways in which you can invest in equity. You need to have a demat account. It is compulsory now. Earlier, we used to have physical shares, but now it is in the electronic format. So a demat account is a must. You can buy shares of companies directly through that demat account. You just need to put money in your account and you can buy shares directly. You become a shareholder in that company. The second way in which you can invest in equity is by buying mutual funds. Mutual funds is nothing but you give, when you don't understand anything about shares, you don't know how which shares to buy, you give your money to a fund house. The expert professionals, the fund managers, will invest your money in stock market on your behalf. So that is an indirect way, but your investment will be according to the market risk, and they are called mutual funds. People will say that stock market is risky. Definitely it is. It involves risk, but without risk, there is no gain. So if you want to still keep your money in the debt products, the money will not grow. Money is at risk, definitely. But what we are talking about is we are planning for retirement, right? We are talking about long term. So for long term, there is no risk. Believe me, if the Sensex is down today, that is the index of stock market. If it is down today, it has to go up tomorrow. That's the rule of the market. And we are talking about retirement or for future or for the next generation. So that is no risk is involved if you are talking about long term. Then the debt products. Debt products are the provident funds, the PPF, bank FDs, government securities, bonds. Your money is safe in these products. There is less risk. I cannot say no risk, but nowadays banks also are involved in scams. So even if there is we cannot say no risk, but there is less risk in keeping in these forms. And they give you the promised fixed rate of interest. The problem is there is no growth. The money will not multiply as much as you are expecting. One important point I want to emphasize here is that we generally want to accumulate cash. We love to have cash with us. The general tendency is that if a patient gives us cash, we are very happy. By doing so, we think we can save taxes or we can evade taxes. But remember, taxes are inevitable. What will you do with that cash? Unless you deposit in your account, you are not going to create any asset. For buying shares, you need to put it in your account because DMAT is compulsory. For buying mutual funds, same, you cannot buy it with your cash. So what can you do? You can keep it at home. By keeping it at home, it's not going to grow, definitely. Third thing you can do is spend. Yes, you can spend a lot, but you cannot save. The money will not grow. By spending on luxury products, you will be paying GST. So ultimately, tax is inevitable. So please don't try to generate cash. Deposit that cash in your account. Yes, for spending you can use, but you have to spend it. You cannot grow it and you cannot save it. It has to be deposited for creating assets. For properties also nowadays, they are not accepting full cash. You have to pay by check for the good real estate schemes. So I'll tell you some of the principles of financial management. First is reduce expenses. Yes, nobody is going to reward you by for possessing very expensive jewelry or very expensive car. They'll definitely praise it for a day or two or for a month, but from the next month you have to pay the installment of that very expensive car. So you're a very nice diamond set, but money is finished for all the praises. Of course, you will say that I'm telling not to have jewelry, not to have many expenses. But see, these are all products of prestige. So first you have to keep aside whatever you want to save. Save first and then spend. Whatever surplus is there, definitely you can have many luxury products. So save, save, save. Reduce expenses. I told you where to save, GRED, the types of assets, and have a good insurance. About insurance, I want to tell that buy a good health insurance for the family. Nowadays, the hospital bills are hefty. You have to, it will create a big hole in your pocket if the whole family is having any disease. So buy a good health insurance. Secondly, buy a life insurance. See, if we die early, our families should not suffer because an earning member has died early. So take a life insurance cover. Pay the premium, you will get the cover as long as you are paying the premium. But don't expect money back. When we take a pure life insurance, it is called as term plan or term insurance, plain vanilla term plan. See, don't expect a money back. You cannot say that I have been paying premium for 20 years and I'm still alive. Give my money back. You should say thanks to God instead that you are alive. That's more important. But it's like taking a car insurance. It is why we take it. First thing that it is compulsory. Second thing, in case of accidents, the damages will be borne by that insurance company. You need not pay from your pocket. But what if that accident doesn't occur? Are we expecting money back? No way, they will not give you. Similarly, in life insurance, why do you want a money back? For investments, I have told you so many good options. So many good assets are there. Why do you want to invest in an insurance policy? Keep it as an expense. Insurance is an expense, an important expense, which you must pay for. But insurance cum investment plans, a complete no. That is the biggest mistake we do. And there we lose money because they will promise you something that you will get after, say, 35 years, you will get this much of money. If you calculate in inflation, that money will be peanuts. And after, say, 70, 75 years of age, you do not need insurance. Your liabilities should be over by that time. So don't take, sometimes they promise you that if you are alive at the age of 85 years and 90 years, you will get this much of money. See, after 70, 75 years, I don't think we should need a insurance. So no money back policy. Why do you need agents to tell you which insurance is good, which mutual fund is good? See, we are doctors, we are cream of the society. Why shouldn't we believe in ourselves? Why should we believe the agents that keep coming to us and tell us that this plan is good, that plan is good? Aren't we intelligent enough? We are. So believe in yourselves, not the advisors. You are your own well-wisher. Nowadays, when the patients come to us and you write a diagnosis, patients will go through Google, they will search a lot, and they will ask you about the rarest of the side effect of the drug that you have prescribed. But when these agents come to us, Dr. Saab, this plan is good, invest in this, we blindly believe them. Can't we do Google search as well? We can, and we must. I'll tell you in short what is a mutual fund. It is money pooled from different people, the different investors, and the professional experts. They invest this money on your behalf. If they invest this money in stock market, they are called as equity mutual funds. And if they invest this money in debt products, the government securities, when the return is somewhat guaranteed, then we call it a debt mutual fund. Debt mutual fund is less riskier, but again, less risk, less gain. More risk, more gain. There are two ways to invest in a mutual fund. One is by buying it lump sum. If you have good amount of money, you can buy it lump sum, or SIP. SIP is systematic investment plan. So you don't need to think when to buy mutual fund. It is SIPs can be monthly, they can be weekly. So the general consensus is to buy mutual funds lump sum when the market is down, when the Sensex is down. But in SIPs, the monthly and weekly SIPs, you don't need to time the market. So you get the average of all the days. So it's always better, SIPs. Once you start, unless you tell them to stop it, they will continue automatically from your bank account. It will go, and it becomes very easy. You don't need to think that much money you have to keep in your bank account, and it will go. That is why it is called a systematic investment plan. And don't worry, you can withdraw it at any time. The lump sum also, the SIPs also, you can stop at any time, but the benefit will be in long term. Whatever amount you want to keep for your, suppose your child is in 10th standard or 9th standard, or you want to keep money for the education which will be there due in next 3 years or 4 years to go, you should not put that in stock market, in mutual funds, or at risk, because that money you will need anytime between these 3-4 years. So keep it safe in those debt products. The long-term money that you want it to grow should be put in stock market. See, I am just like you all, a clinician. If I can do it, I think anybody can do it. It's actually interesting. It's always interesting to know how to make more money. And it's not difficult at all. When we can learn the names of diseases, the different pathogens, the pharmacological names of drugs, I think this is nothing in front of it. We can definitely learn. You need only some time. It's not time consuming. Once you study it nicely and start SIP, that SIP is forever. Shares, you need to scrutinize a few companies, and when you start buying it regularly, it hardly takes a minute, yes, in a month. So it's not time consuming. Only you need is some study to start with. So we can do it. Anybody can do it. So you can form a group, talk about money, rather than asking which mobile to buy, which car to buy. You can ask which share to buy in the group of doctors. I know so many doctors in NOGS who are so expert. We can talk with each other, learn with each other. And by giving knowledge to others, it will not decrease our knowledge. And it will not decrease your money for sure. It will not decrease. If a particular doctor's money is increasing, your money will also increase. So talk freely amongst yourselves. I'll tell you, these are the websites, the valueresearchonline.com. You can get every information about mutual funds. You can study from this. There are many fund houses, HDFC, ICICI, SBI. Every fund house has got different types of mutual funds. You can study it from there. Moneycontrol.com gives you a fair idea about the shares. Shares means companies, companies for whose shares are there available on the stock exchange, the national stock exchange to buy. So you can get all the information. WealthCon India is a forum of doctors from where I also learned. They conduct webinars regularly. You can visit this site and you can attend their webinars, but that platform is only for doctors. So you can learn, there are many ways. And once we know that many doctors are doing it on their own, you get motivated. That's what happened with me. In short, about buying shares, see that this itself is a very big topic, but it's not difficult, believe me. How to buy shares? You open a demat account, you select good companies. What are good companies? The ones who do not have a lot of debt, who are large cap companies. Slowly you will understand these terms, not difficult at all. Large cap companies means you must have heard blue chip companies. So in day-to-day life also, you know, there are many companies like Nestle. Everybody knows about Nestle chocolates, the Britannia. So these are companies you know are doing well. Nestle's Maggie, it is so famous. So you know they are doing well. In market, you see so many products, and these are fast moving consumable goods. But there are different sectors like industry, Reliance Industries. We all know that it's good. Then power sector. So there are so many sectors. Havells, the electric appliances company. So in these different sectors, you can buy from banking sector. You know HDFC Bank. So see, HDFC, Reliance, Britannia, Nestle, I've told you already, Havells, 5 companies. So you need to buy 20 companies shares regularly, 15 to 20 companies. Buy them regularly and don't sell. Buy the shares. Whatever money you have, decide that I want to invest this much in shares in a particular month. And whenever you want to buy, it is at a click's notice. You just click and the share will come to your demat account. Buy and hold. That is the strategy for long term. You will never be in loss. Yes, out of those 20 companies, 5 companies will definitely show you loss, but that loss will be made equal by the other companies, which can be multi-baggers, and they will fetch you a lot of money. So those 5 companies out of 20, definitely one company is going to dupe you. 5 companies definitely will not give you good money, but the other 10, 15 companies can make equal those losses. So buy and hold is the strategy. One more important point about direct mutual funds, direct versus regular. This is very important point. Direct is when you buy directly, you go to the fund house, give a check for mutual fund buying, and the mutual fund is yours. This is without involving any middleman. So you can buy it online as well, but buy always direct. Regular is through agents. So they will eat up your money. They will eat up your money. You will not even understand that your money is going to them. So the best example is if you have SIP of 20 years, and if the investment has increased to 2 crores in direct mutual fund, in regular it will be 1.6 crores. 40 lakhs difference in 20 years is huge, and that goes to that agent. So never buy a regular plan. If at all you have regular plans, you please shift them to direct. So there will be some tax losses that will be there anyways. So it's a huge money that you can save. I think our chairpersons will tell us more on this. And lastly, don't forget about contingency fund. What is contingency fund? We have seen Corona, the biggest example. So you should save 6 months of your expenses in a debt fund or a debt product. You can have FD as well. Because for some reason, if we are not able to earn for 6 months at a stretch, we have recently seen Corona. Not all doctors, but definitely the practice for non-COVID patients were less, and definitely there has been a blow to the earnings of many people. So in that time, you shouldn't get worried for any kind of emergency. If you're bedridden for 6 months, what will happen? How will you earn? So calculate your monthly expenses, multiply by 6, keep that much money handy. It should be liquid. You should be able to withdraw it immediately. It should not be in any lock-in period. In PPF also you have a lock-in period. So if it is within 7 years, you can't withdraw the whole amount. So it has to be in some debt products, some instruments which are liquid. So I think that's it for now. And I wish you all very happy investing. Thank you so much.
Uh, Thank you, Neeta, for such a wonderful, crisp, and informative talk.
Thanks.
Finance is definitely a topic which is lesser read and heard by the doctors. And over the years, it has been fed to us that finance is not our cup of tea. But after listening to your presentation, I'm sure everyone here has definitely become a financial wiser. Using your GRED formula, GRED formula is definitely a thing to be pondered upon. And one more thing I would like to say is always invest in direct funds, which you rightly said. Avoid regular funds because this is where the financial advisor earns for himself on the money invested by you. My heartfelt thanks to you, Neeta, for this excellent presentation. And I owe my financial literacy to you because you introduced me to this new baby on finance. And I would also like to tell the audience about an incident in which I was also following a regular fund for the last 10 years. And then later on, when I realized after learning about finance, I realized that this is somewhat not done. So I shifted all my funds, though they were negative, into into a direct fund. And the difference between the regular and the direct fund, the loss which I was getting from all these funds was a little lesser as compared to by just investing in the regular funds. So I would definitely want all the audience to just take a message, invest in direct funds. If because we are a cream of the society, we can always do it on our own. So finance is a thing we should not hand over it to others. We should be doing it on our own for our own benefit. And we should also pass on this legacy to our children. Thank you, Neeta.
Thank you.
Yeah, very well said, Swati. You're absolutely right. We'll take a few questions. Neeta, you're muted.
Yes, ma'am.
This is a question from Dr. Shantala Bhole. She's asking you, isn't it better not to invest in stock market now due to the pandemic and US elections? Experts are predicting that things are going to be uncertain for the next couple of months. What's your take?
See, we should invest regularly in stock market and we should invest more when the stock market falls. So you will get more number of shares, more units of mutual funds when you will buy when the stock market crashes. As it is, you don't want money now. If you are investing today, you want it 10 years later. That's what that stock market investment is all about. So keep investing regularly. It's not that you should buy a lump sum today itself. You have to invest your decided amount regularly in stock market. So you get average of all the years, all the months. And when this pandemic or US elections, we actually look forward for such opportunities when the stock market falls and we can put in more money. You should keep that cash in hand, we call that you put in more. So because it is not going to be a permanent state. It has to go up after say 2-3 years.
Okay. This is a question from Dr. Pushpa Zungare, ma'am. She's asking you to explain why the FDs are useless.
Yes, madam, they're not useless, but what happens is the rate of interest is very less, and that much inflation takes place over a period of years. So our cost of living increases. So the amount that you invested, say 5 years ago, that amounts to same after 5 years with that rate of interest. And on apart from that, you have to pay tax on the interest received. So that will be added up to your income. and you will be liable to pay taxes according to your own tax slab rate. So ultimately, there is a few thousands of loss.
Right.
I have to add one more thing.
Yes.
See, in an FD, the interest which you earn over an FD is taxable. But definitely for a certain age group, like if you're about 60, 65, where you want a very safe investment,
Safe,
definitely
yes.
FDs would do good. But if you are into like 40s and you want to invest for 15 years, when you want a long term investment, then definitely FDs won't do that much of a help as these mutual funds would do. So it will all depend on what is age factor is also important in that.
Yes, as your age increases, your stock market investment should decrease and your investment in debt products should
Should
increase.
increase. Correct.
So
मुझे
I
क्या
told
लग
you,
Yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
so 10% of your money, as I've already told, it should go to FDs.
Sure.
Yeah.
You cannot put all the money in stock market. If the stock market falls and if you need money for some reason, you should have some money. That is why the diversification. And there is also a rule means the unsaid rule, that if the stock market goes down, the gold rate increases. And if the if the economy of a nation is good, the rate will be less. And if the economy is not doing good, the gold rate will increase. So you should have money in all assets.
I'm so glad our NOGs women. So they are such great finance experts because there are questions in the chat box and they are already being answered by our female members. Bhavna is answering a few of questions in the chat box. I'm like amazed. I didn't know you all are so capable of managing finance. मला the finance चा F पण कळत नाही. And me conveniently, I just put it on my husband. I am like, I'm taking a lesson from you guys.
So one of you must know that.
One of them, yeah. So मला तर तुमचे ते कोणते वर्ड्स आले तरी असं I don't know, I feel dizzy. Oh my God, what's going on? Nonetheless, the question for you is, how do we calculate how much of assets we need?
That is a very individual question. That depends on the quality of life you want to have. It is individualized, I think. Assets it depends on how is your lifestyle. As I told that for me, wearing a lipstick can be a luxury. For others, it can be heavy diamond sets. So,
Right. Relative term.
yeah.
Yeah. So Bhavna's answer to that is it depends on our goals, short-term and long-term goals, plus at the rate of inflation. This is the answer on how you should calculate how much assets do we need. So that's so well
Yeah,
put,
thank you,
Bhavna.
Bhavna.
Well done.
Yes, Bhavna knows a lot.
Yeah, it looks like, oh my God, I'm amazed at you girls.
Madam, there are many in our NOGS who are experts.
Yeah, now today I'm coming to know, na? आज पता चल रहा है सबको. So another question from Dr. Zungare ma'am is about the interest on paper gold at the end of 7 years. Is it on the original value or the escalated value?
It is on original value, the 2% interest. I feel so. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Swati, do you know?
Anyone
So
knows about that?
I'm not too sure, but it must be on the amount invested. I really don't know. I'll have to check. But we can, the queries, if we Google, I'll also Google now. So I'll get to know.
Bhavna is asking you, I think, are you available for advice on mutual funds? I'll unmute her only. I think she's such an asset to this session.
Bhavna, we are there for friends always. I told you, it doesn't decrease our own money if we talk about it publicly. So
Bhavna, you're unmute. I've asked you to unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
थोड़ा चेहरा भी दिखा दे यार.
अरे.
अच्छा कोई बात नहीं. चल बोल. What was your? Yeah, there you are.
Yeah, I'm here, ma'am.
Bhavna, you're most welcome.
Yeah. Because I have not done it directly. I'm doing it through someone. So I would like to shift to the direct what you are saying. I would like to do that.
Swati, she has saved a lot of money shifting from regular to direct.
Yeah, I can definitely help you on that because it's recently that I have shifted from my regular to direct fund and I'm doing it
I
online.
would love to. I would love to learn that. I would love to.
Yeah, you girls are amazing.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Another question is by Dr. Mridul Sande ma'am, our very senior member. She's saying, what's your advice for senior citizens? Is it the same GRED plan?
No, madam. For the senior citizens, you should have your money safe because it is your hard-earned money over a period of years. So you shouldn't risk it in stock market. You can buy debt mutual funds. You can invest in FDs or government bonds, and a little you can definitely go in for mutual funds. Shares would be very risky at that particular age.
Right.
Unless it is for your next generation. If you want to gift it to your children, if you don't want to use that money, if you for gifting, definitely you give them and forget and tell them to keep it for at least 10-15 years.
Yeah.
So,
Then how should she decide on mutual fund is our next question.
we have to study a bit, but any direct fund would be good. There are categories of mutual funds as well. So actually it will be too much for this audience and this, it will be out of
Right.
my scope.
Swati, Neeta, and Bhavna are all freely available for us. So
Yeah.
we can bother them anytime henceforth.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Manisha ma'am, welcome. Please ask your question.
What is arbitrage fund?
Arbitrage fund, the taxation is like the shares, and it is a type of debt fund, but there is a lock-in period. I mean, it is not lock-in period. It is a type of debt fund for short-term investment. For short term, say 1 to 3 years, if you want to keep your money, the returns will be around 6 to 8%. So, but they will be guaranteed because they buy in cash from you and they sell in futures. So those futures, the rate of interest will be 6 to 8%, not much, but taxation is better than the other debt mutual.
You said they sell in futures. That is futures and options you are talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, but that we don't do it.
We
The
don't do
fund
it. They do it
manager
for us.
does it.
Oh, okay.
There's one comment. I don't know if it's a question. Dr. Lata Gupta saying we are investing in buying instruments also. So where does that fit?
Madam, that is a completely a professional balance sheet.
Right.
That is a professional expenditure. Though it is, see, definitely we also invest our knowledge, we invest our time. Definitely we are investing in our equipments and instruments for earning, but that goes in professional expenses.
Dr. Sandeep Phadke is posting nice comments in the chat box. First, his comment is
Thank
seniors can reduce the equity part of GRED.
Yes, yes.
He says for senior citizens, G10, R40, E10, and D40.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. Thank you so much for clarifying.
Yeah. Which debt funds you recommend where we need to save for 6 months?
Debt funds, there are many in the market. We will have to study them. I mean, it's not that easy to tell it here. I have to make a separate presentation for that.
What I suggest, there are some questions for you, then how they can contact you and interact with you personally. So maybe at the end of the session in the chat box, if you can post your contact number, whichever number you want to give. So she's posting her contact number in the chat box. So those who want to interact with her, Swati, you can also post you're the chairperson of the day and you are so well read and studied these aspects so well. So both of their numbers are available in the chat box, Dr. Swati Khandekar and the speaker of the day, Dr. Neeta Sapre. So friends, you can contact them if at all you have further questions on that. There's another question from Dr. Sandhya ma'am again. How to switch to direct fund from regular?
Yes. Swati, would you like to tell? You have done it recently.
Yeah. Actually, there are two platforms. You can shift from a regular fund to a direct fund either by going through. There are two services which are available through which all the investments are done, mutual fund investments. They are the CAMS and the Karvi, or which is now known as KFinTech. So either you can go there personally, just fill a form, and your investments will be switched over to a direct fund, or you can even do it online. Online also, all these CAMS and KFin, they're available online. You can just download their app. You can just register with them through your PAN card, and all your investments will come online. And then it is just at a click of a button that you can shift from a regular to a direct fund. And either ways, whatever way you are comfortable going there and doing it, or doing online, both ways you can do it.
And
Okay.
first you have to stop the SIPs of the regular.
SIPs,
That
correct.
is important.
I
Stop
think
the SIPs and keep that money there for a year, because otherwise you will have that exit load and
Exit
taxation.
load and
yeah, the
gain
similar
back.
question from Dr. Sangeeta Reddy. She's not from Nagpur, but she's a regular attendee of DGO Gyan. She's saying, asking you, having SIP and lump sum in mutual funds SBI, how to shift to direct from regular. So I think the similar question.
Yeah, that lump sum can be directly shifted, and that SIP has to be stopped immediately.
Stopped, and then after 1 year you can actually shift.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about PPF and RD in post office?
That is again
A
a
big no. Big
No?
no.
yeah. True.
RDs are a big no, right?
Yeah, the money is
In
not going to
PPF,
grow
even
there.
PPF?
No, PPF is good, madam. It will give
It
you
is,
tax benefit.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Yeah, that's
can-
what I'm
but
asking.
but actually, the tax limit is just 1.5 lakhs. You can invest up to 1.5, and majority of investments actually cross that. So there's no point in keeping an PPF if you're already investing in something else which is tax saving.
Okay, of
Yeah,
course.
we have tax saving mutual funds as
Mutual
well.
funds also.
So the money will grow there more than the PPF.
Okay, right. Okay. And how to start investing directly in mutual funds? What is the site on the net? I mean, how does she start investing in mutual funds is a question.
I do it through an app, online ET Money app, and you just have to download that app and follow instructions.
Okay, but how do you know which funds to invest in?
Yeah, that is what you need to study. But you need to, I mean, that will be like an extra session, or maybe not even one session, one whole day session.
Okay, right. But for stock investment, like we have to spend a lot of time studying it.
No.
No, initially a bit,
Yeah.
definitely, but that's not difficult for us, madam. We study so much. For any talk, we study. For any small topic,
Actually,
we keep
how much we go? I know our studying doesn't really end.
The easiest thing for doctors is to study.
Dr. Kumkum Sira wants a repeat on this this topic, a repeat webinar, a detailed one actually. Yes, we can think of that, little, broader aspects. This was just, introductory session, I would say, isn't it, Siddhita?
Yes. This was
Okay.
motivation.
Right. That's the motivation. Correct.
Yeah.
What is Bitcoin?
Bitcoins, it must be. No,
Coins of, I think that Bitcoin money, no? What is it?
Yeah. But I really don't know that.
No, sure.
Not studied.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your opinion about sovereign gold bonds of government of India?
Yeah, they are good. They are good in that is the paper gold that I was talking about. It is good for long term. That is gold, but we will not get gold as a return. We will get money, the increased money.
Yeah, so Dr. Lata Gupta, you're going right. Monica, Swati's and Neeta's number is already posted in the chat box. What about, please tell us something about tax-free investments besides mutual fund.
Tax-free investments, see, we get tax benefit of ATC in these ATC products like PPF. One is PPF, one is Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana for daughters, but you have to start a bit early, less than 10 years of age of your child. Then the insurance premium that we pay is also counted in that 1.5 lakhs per annum. The home loan interest also. If you are paying EMIs for your home loan, the interest is also calculated in that 1.5 lakhs. So that is exempted from tax.
Okay. And are regular and SIP the same?
No.
SIP is systematic investment plan. I told you SIP, we can have monthly, weekly, the money will go from your bank account, but regular and direct, these are the two ways in which you can buy a mutual fund. Regular is through agent, direct is directly through us.
Now, this is one more relevant question from Dr. Nalini Kurve, ma'am. How can we gift to our children? Is it taxable? Please explain.
No, you can, the children will not have tax, but you have to gift from your taxed money. See, if you want to give it on paper, if you're not giving cash, if you are giving any asset or anything, there is no limit to it. You can give as much as you want, but definitely when the money comes to your account, you will be taxed first, and then that money will go to your children. For them, it will be tax free. Any amount.
I didn't get you. So whatever money is in our bank is already taxed, right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. If you are paying tax, whatever money you have in your account is your income.
Correct.
So you will be taxed on it. You have to pay tax. And then whatever amount you give to your children, for them, in their hands, it will be tax free.
Free. Yeah,
you
but
will actually have to make it a gift deed, madam. I mean,
Yes.
you will have to whenever suppose you have 5 lakhs with you, you get it through some investment. That money comes to your account, you will be taxed, and then after the tax, you give it to your children. Then you make a gift. When you transferring the money, you just have to write in the form as a gift from me to the daughter or son.
In that book of accounts, it has to be mentioned as gift.
Mentioned as it is a gift, so your son or daughter will not be taxed.
they will never be taxed. Correct.
They will not be taxed, but you'll have to
They can very well.
you'll have to mark that.
Mark that. Okay, but if she doesn't intend to give that money, those 5 lakhs anyways will be taxed, right? Irrespective of the fact whether she gifts or doesn't gift.
Yeah.
That money
Yeah.
anyways would be taxed, right?
Yeah, it is her income. So it will
Madam, it is the interest over the initial amount that will be taxed. म्हणजे 5 लाख आले म्हणून 5 लाख टॅक्स नाही होणार. सपोज शी प्रॉफिट त्याच्यावर जर शी इज गेटिंग 5.5 लाख, सो 50,000 वरचे जे तिला मिळतात आहेत, that 50,000 will be taxed.
Okay.
but not for children. The children themselves
Who
will
receives
not
will be taxed.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
All right. So that was a nice question. Is it possible to top up the current SIP?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, definitely. As much as you want.
Thank you so much, Zungare ma'am. She says NOGS rocks. Keep up the good work. Thank you so much, ma'am. It means so much to us. Thanks, Monica. She says excellent job. Neeta's number is there in the chat box. Swati, I hope you posted your number. Someone was asking for
Right.
your number as well.
I think I posted.
Yeah. There's a demand from someone saying, please keep a separate lecture once again, detailed one. So we are happy that we have initiated that thing in you and motivated you to start investing and start managing your own accounts. I don't think I would ever be, as long as my husband is managed. But at least I'm now, keen to see where my investment.
You are a rich doc.
Already.
Poor dog managed by a rich husband, maybe. Okay. Any suggestions on a book or a site where we can study about the share and funds investment?
Neeta has put up in the talk sites.
Maybe she has missed. So can you just elaborate, say a few?
Pardon, madam?
Suggest a book or a site where we can study about the share and the funds investment.
We can read Zerodha Versity. Zerodha is a DMAT. It's a broker's account. We can open an account in Zerodha. Okay, just like Sher Khan, Motilal Oswal. We can open an account in Zerodha, and on Google there is a Zerodha Versity. There are so many things given in detail. We can learn from that. Book,
Right.
I haven't read book. Google is good.
Right, Dr. Shipra, both of their numbers are in the chat box. Connect with them. They may be able to guide you later. Gift to blood relation from our taxpayer money, any amount, anytime?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Kindly replay the Google address already displayed. Which Google address? The name is not here. Galaxy A30. You have not named yourself. What is the question exactly? Please post again. Rakhi Gajbi's comments, few best ones are PPF, paper gold, NPs, term insurance and SIPs. This is what they are doing right now. Is that right, Neeta?
NPS, I'm searching her.
She's saying PPF, paper gold,
Yeah.
NPS, term insurance and SIPs.
Yeah, this is good. NPS is
National Pension Scheme.
yeah, but that is doubtful because the rules keep changing often for that NPS, and we don't know what will happen. That's a long time it's like for retirement. So for a 40 years person, for 20 years, you give money. So there are many other instruments which are better than NPS, I feel.
And capital of children will increase once you are gifting them. So any impact on that?
No, but that will be tax free for them.
So that's not a problem.
Yeah,
So it's
not
a good sensitization session. That's what Dr. Nikita is saying. Lots of compliments coming your way. Please go through the chat box. Nita, excellent
thank you so
session.
much.
Superb girl. Sujata says she's superb girl.
Thank you so much.
Indeed, really, I'm really zapped. I mean, really, मुझे तो finance से तो पहले palpitation होता है. I'm really so.
No,
glad to
madam,
see
but
that
I
you
was
all are-
like you 2 years back, maybe. I was just like you. So you can do it.
Yeah, now I'm really, you motivated, both of you motivated me today. So maybe I
Everyone
can
can do
start a small beginning today, you know.
Yeah, even Swati Sarda also can do it. She has a lot of interest in that. So probably she'll start now.
Yes, ma'am, definitely. The other day I was discussing with Neeta, ma'am, that I have always seen my uncle investing in stock markets and then how he used to get a lot of returns from stock. So I was always interested, but I think today is the day when I'm getting the good motivation to
All
start.
of us are
working on it.
sensitized.
Yes,
Good,
yes.
yes, all of us. And last one question, dear. Can we take money anytime from SIPs?
Yes, you can
Yes.
start SIPs anytime and you can withdraw. Within 3 working days, you will get it.
Oh, great. So there's one nice suggestion. Actually, I don't know how we can work it out. She's saying, please create a WhatsApp group for this. So interested members and you all experts. And then maybe we can have our DigiOrgan WhatsApp group, you know, for finance.
Yeah, let's see.
This can't be restricted to NOGS because we have lots of outside NOGS members as well. So to give a consent, then maybe we can circulate a message and form a WhatsApp group for that, where you all will be the advisors.
Yeah.
If you
We'll
agree, do
discuss
let me
it.
know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Wonderful. So I think we are coming to the end of the question answer session. Swati, you've already given your concluding remarks as well. So over to you, Swati. This was indeed, Rita, I don't know how to pray, how and I mean, what words, I don't know. I'm just struggling to
Thank
find
you
the
for
right
your
word for you.
positivity.
Amazing. Really, like तुम लोगों ने आंखें खोल दी हमारी. करना चाहिए था, really. So thank you so much, Neeta, for this wonderful presentation today. And Swati, actually, देखो chairperson के बदले speaker जैसे thanks बोलना चाहिए तेरे inputs भी.
Yes,
Yeah,
she's
so
like that.
important.
I couldn't resist talking.
No, that was good. No, that is why we have people who can chair the session who are experts in the field. So
And see,
that
she's
was
doing anomaly scans and her mind is working at so many places, you can imagine. So everybody can do it. All our
right.
clinicians.
Right. Really. Sure. Thank you so much. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.